Hello, 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 and welcome to the Blue Oval Podcast. I am Ben Weiss, and joining me, as always, Garrett Zadlin. How's it going, man?
Anyone who is listening knows that now they should be on YouTube because now they can see me a little bit more clearly, which, depending on how you feel about me, might be a good or bad thing. I don't know. I think it could be both. And Ben, we're still playing around with Ben's camera there, but wanted to toss aside my own monologue today just to say thank you to Jan Figueroa and I know I butchered that name, sorry, Jan, and Angela May, who were at Boston U this past week and did a phenomenal job. A lot of great feedback, getting photos and videos for us. So sincere thanks to them. You will definitely be seeing, I think, Andrew again, and we will hopefully get Jan again. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, the videos are awesome. I mean, it seemed like we just had interviews of all the big names, which
Yeah.
I think it adds such a color to the race and the analysis when you're actually hearing from the athletes who are putting down these incredible performances.
Yeah, all on YouTube. So go check that out. And hey, listen, that's good content, right? And as such, that means you guys should leave us a rating and review, which we got none of. Please do that. But otherwise, let's skip that. Not going to rant or do that today. We have a lot to talk about. It was an insane weekend, as we knew it would be. Although I think this was a little bit crazier than I think we thought it would
Yes.
be. Um, I mean, where do you want to start?
I think what we should do is like I can pick some performances, you pick one, we can just bounce back and forth because I think there's just so much to get to and we can kind of just pick our favorites. So I think we should start with Maia Ramsden.
Yep.
424, nearly breaking the mile record that Caitlin Tui set, being about like 6 tenths of a second off. We were pleased to see that 430 mark, right? I remember what we were saying almost exactly in terms of thought she would have run maybe a little faster, but it's just good to see her back looking
Right.
good and like just being back, like clearly she's healthy and fit. And I for me, I think I maybe was like a little bit more on the positive side of being like, I think she'll obviously run something faster. I think this is a good stepping stone, but I did not imagine there was a world where she would run under 426, 427 even. And for her to go all the way down to 424. I mean, and I was saying before we jumped on, the women's mile is incredible this year. But and yet, this is the performance that puts you as the favorite. And it is really hard for me to imagine, even in this deep field, anybody really coming close to her as like the favorite going into nationals at this point.
Yeah, I think the way that I phrased it was I think there are multiple mile national title favorites, but I don't think anyone has an argument that's as convincing and as clear cut
Hmm.
as Ramsden. Super dynamic, highly experienced, has national meet success, is
Has done it
continuing
before.
to improve. Yeah, has done it before, continued to improve, has a significantly faster time, has raced against the pros. I mean, there you really kind of look at everyone else, and we'll talk about them later. But
Hmm.
they all have at least one aspect where you go, but I'm not quite sure on that aspect. I'm not quite sure on that aspect, and I don't think there's a problem at all with anything on Ramsden's resume, especially now that she has a 424 NCAA number two all time.
Honestly, I think that was like the biggest knock on her was that she just didn't have that explosively fast time
Mhm.
like some of the other top contenders in this event. And for her to check that box, I mean, she clearly has the strength to be able and the speed to run any type of race. She's shown the ability to kick at the right time. She really is one of the most complete runners we have in the NCAA, and this just further cements. I think it puts her up almost another tier though for her to be able to go from one of the most versatile, one of the best milers in the country to potentially the best miler that we have in the NCAA.
All right, so then I'm now going to give you a little bit of an exercise, and let's see what your answer is, and maybe this will lead us into the next topic pretty well. Who right now do you think can win the mile national title?
Like how many like the names of the people?
Yeah.
So obviously, I think Ramsden can. I think Melissa Riggins can. Think that Flomena Asekol can. I think that might be it. Am I forgetting an obvious name here?
Amina Matug?
No, she hasn't. She hasn't shown it at a national meet yet for me to feel confident in that.
Okay. Um, and that's a fair critique. I think it's Ramsden, Riggins. I, I don't know if I would put money on Asekol, but I think she has to be in there after this past weekend.
Yeah.
I'd put Matug in there, and I put Kimberly May.
Yeah, I agree with Kimberly May. Yeah, that's the one that I should have added. But I think that's the four for me. I wouldn't put Matug in there. I say that because I think I'm a little burnt from maybe thinking that she would a few years ago and that not happening. But it's fairly realistic to put her in there after she ran 4:29 this past weekend.
I mean, we're encouraged by that, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Great run.
Yeah. Okay. And I wish there was be more to talk about there, but there's not. I mean, I predicted 428 and she ran 420. Like there's just
Yeah.
that's kind of it. Like she ran 846 for 3K earlier in December. There's not really a lot to talk about there. Let's talk about Asekol though.
Sure.
426, 6 second PR came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
NCAA number three all time. Your reaction when you heard slash saw the time and how does that performance change how you think about her?
So as far as surprise, I wouldn't have been surprised to see, I think, 429 or even necessarily 428. Like the NCAA has just gotten to the point where it's like you're seeing so many women run 430, and she's clearly one of the best in the country. So for her to run under 430 is wouldn't have been a stunning performance. 426 though is a different level. And we've always seen her in a lot of ways. She's very similar to Ramsden. She can do everything basically. There really isn't a whole lot on the track or on the grass that she's not going to be very good at. But I think again this puts her into another tier. I think that she goes from like all American contender, maybe favorite, probably before this weekend, to like a title contender now. This is a huge jump for her. I still have some of those same questions that I have about Matug. I have a little bit to a lesser extent about Asekol, but running 426 makes me a little less worried about that because she can just fitness her way out of a lot of issues that most women cannot in this kind of situation.
Yeah, I think yeah. When those four women who you said could contend for the title, where does Asekol rank in there?
So I would have Ramsden and Riggins, I think 1, 2, and then I think I would go Asekol 3 and May
Okay.
4.
Okay. Um, there are just moments of inconsistency
Yes.
that you get. I mean, we forget like she ran 437 like a couple weeks ago, and then she just dropped 11 seconds like 2 weeks later. Like it's wild, right? And she is someone who was third at the indoor national meet in the mile last year, but then doesn't even make the 1500-meter finals. She
Yeah.
was great throughout the cross country season, but nothing to say that she was going to be sixth in the nation. I think she's a really comfortable, like borderline lock All American. Like unless something
Yeah.
catastrophic happens, I would maybe even say that right now, but there are just moments where I don't always know what I'm going to get from her. The nice thing is that more recently, it's been way more good than bad, and that's a really good trend in the right direction. Speaking of things though that we didn't expect, Chloe Foerster is a sophomore from Washington who came out of absolutely nowhere and ran 428 on a 300-meter track, so it doesn't count towards the official all-time list. But when you factor in everything else, that's the 12th fastest time ever, regardless of the conditions for the women's mile indoors. how do we think about this result? Like, how?
I mean, again, this is like she's always been a good runner, and seeing her run 4:31 or something like that wouldn't have been. I mean, it was still would have been a huge performance for her, but from like an NCAA perspective, it wouldn't have been stunning for her to go this far under 4:30. I pretty much agree with everything you wrote in your first thoughts article about like we need to see more. This is awesome. This clearly shows that she has taken a step up in her fitness. That Washington and DMR looks even scarier now that you're throwing in Chloe Foerster as a 428 miler. But I just don't know how to react to it when we're thinking about the national championship, because anybody can have like a great day during the regular season. That means that their fitness has improved, but that doesn't mean they're ready to really challenge to be an all-American or a title contender. Like that, those are two different things. You can't you need to have the fitness in order to be able to become
Right,
one of those things,
right.
like an all-American, all those things. That's a necessity, but that doesn't always mean that you're going to get there. So I would love to see her in a like a more tactical race. I wish there was a Pac-12 indoor championship that we could see her in. I think that would tell us a lot.
Well, we'll get her in Big Ten soon.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Next year we will get that, and that I think that would be really nice to see this year in a situation where she's going up against other top milers in a pure race rather than just kind of a time trial situation. Uh, but because of that, I just don't know if we're gonna really know that much more about her until she toes the line at nationals, and we're just going to have to. I mean, making predictions on her is going to be just a leap of faith, really.
Right, and that's it. It's like, she's fit enough to be an All-American. That's not the question. And frankly, she's fit enough to be a title winner. Like
Mhm.
that's not the fitness is there. Like she just needs to run at some point just fast enough as she has. Now, like you said, it's all the nuances, the tactics, experience, understanding when to go, understanding her competition. So it will be fascinating. How would you put her in your All-American picks right now?
I honestly would probably say no. I we've talked about this before. It's just really hard in that first year, like first like, of your breakout season to do well at nationals. There's some people that are just good enough and smart enough and tactically sound enough to be able to make that leap right away. But when you're going up against a field that's this loaded, just making it out of that first round is going to be extraordinarily difficult. And I don't know if I necessarily have a ton of confidence yet to put her in there.
Yeah, I was kind of doing the same thing. I'm kind of like, I trust McCabe more, and I trust Japkuri more, and I
Mhm.
trust May and Asekol and Ramsden and Kazmirska and
The
Thomas if
list
she
gets
runs it.
long real fast.
Yeah, Reagan's you throw in there. You start going down the list. You're like, oh, I have like a lot of these women. Like there, a lot of these are like proven women, even if they're sophomores or juniors.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. But would I also be shocked if she got second or third? No,
No.
I wouldn't. I
Yeah, I mean,
no,
basically, what we're both saying is like we're
we have no
choosing to
idea.
be late on her. Essentially,
Yes,
like
yes.
we have the option of being like early in terms of like, all right, this means she's going to finish top 3 at nationals, or we have the decision to be like, we just want to see what she does at nationals before we get make that leap.
Yeah, she could be second or third, or she could miss the finals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's just is the thing that comes with experience. I'm moving us off. Well, actually, we'll stay on the mild. Bilachep Curie, 429. I don't know if there's anything to talk about. I do really like her though. Like
Hmm.
she it improves her stock a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Again, this is the NCAA landscape that we live in, where sub 430 for this kind of caliber of a runner is almost expected at this point. So, again, it shows that she's in great shape and positioned very, very well to be an All American.
Moving us to the 3K, more specifically the men's 3K. Kai Robinson, Stanford, ran 736, 6'9". Aaron Las Heras, 737. Matt Strangio, 739. And Theo Quack, 739. Go you can go ahead.
It's
I think
yeah.
we're both thinking the same thing.
We probably are, and it's just we're just so jaded to these performances now, which I hate because they're so incredible. And again, I think Robinson, we've had such a great amount of hype around like the Nico Young, like what he's been doing, and obviously rightly so, and what Grant Blanks has shown with his 5K performance at Boston, and like I feel like Kai Robinson has flown a little bit under the radar, which is pretty much exactly what he did last outdoor season when he was good but not great during the year, and then obviously ends up with 2 national championship titles. It feels like we might be headed to that direction, but all that said, this is a one of his best races ever. So yeah,
Is it his best race ever?
it might be, and so he's definitely not going to be going under the radar nearly as much as he was going in the outdoor season because this is a statement performance.
Yeah. I mean, like, listen, he's great. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter. He could have run 740 or 736. That's not the thing. It's how he did it. Did it. Who he beat. Aaron Las Harris, by the way, he has way
Whew.
more turnover than I think we ever realized.
Yes.
That was huge. Like him and Theo Quacks. And in what world did you ever think Matt Strangio would be running 739 for 3,000 meters? Don't be wrong. I've been saying, hey, he's good, he's good, he's good. I didn't think he was that good. So
He's probably one of the more underrated runners in the country because you look at
this
his T
season, yeah.
first profile and just go like PR by PR by PR. It stacks up to almost anyone in the country. He hasn't really been able to put it together at like a national championship, where he's still on the screen when the leaders are duking it out. But he has that kind of potential if he can kind of put it together in those meets.
Yeah, whether it was like, I think he's only actually been to, I think, one national meet on the track before. I think it was last year. And but you're right though. It's like, he's not there, right? He was 76 and cross this past fall. Didn't make it last fall or the fall before that. So yeah, he really doesn't have like a lot of experience. And I think that's the only thing that's holding him back because he's fairly dynamic. He's been increasingly consistent, which is great.
Hmm.
Mile 3K, good speed, strength, kind of dynamic there, and he's just clearly getting better. And as we saw, he can be competitive. Um, so incredible performances from all of them. Like individually, look, they got it, and it was great. I do want to have like a kind of a separate conversation, but I think it just kind of stems off of this. How many times in the USTF CCCA all-time top 10 collegiately? How many 3K times in that top 10 do you think have come since 2022?
8.
9.
Wow. So only the record, the only what was it? Was it Yara Nagus who broke
It was
who was it? Who had the
Alistair
record?
Craig.
Yeah,
It was
Alistair Craig.
Alistair
That's right.
Craig's,
And so he's the only one still on that list.
and he's at 7.
Oh my gosh.
And I should note that NAIA's Zuhair Talbi of Oklahoma City is the 10th spot. So
Right.
NCAA plus NAIA, whatever. I don't want to be the guy yelling at a cloud here. What was the point of these records? I just, like I know, I know, and the problem is that like I'm not trying to take away anything like from the guys who did this because they still did it. Like it's still all on 200-meter ovals. Like they still had to run absurdly fast, and they still like went under 738. A lot of them fairly comfortably.
Mhm.
So it's not to take away and detract from that. But when you see the mass amount of times, I can't help but be like, okay, like I kind of like Alistair Craig. Remember, we were like, no one's. Oh, that's gonna be
Yeah.
stay for a while. No, it's not even. It's like 7. So that's just me. I don't know.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I think we're getting to a point where track you almost have to divide it from like the cinder track era to the real, like actually running on the tracks we have today, to running in normal spikes to running in these kind of spikes. Like and obviously it's not just the spikes. There's a lot of other factors into coming into
But
play.
what could the fact, like, I'm if someone tells me it's like, no, we actually our training's really good now. No, it's not. It's not. It's not that much better. It's just not. There's no chance. I'm just if someone tells me that again, I'm gonna just lose my mind. It's just not true. It's just
Well, no,
not.
I mean, obviously there could be better coaching, better just like adaptation through the years can help like get
Sure.
there, but it's not.
Totally.
Yeah, but I would agree with you that that's not like the main reason why these things are speeding up in the same manner. So I think that what we really have to do is say look at these kind of athletes and records in certain eras, because it really is pointless to be like, all right, compare Kai Robinson to Alistair Craig.
Right.
Like it's just it's not going to, if you're just looking at the pure times, it's not going to tell the full story. You're not going to really understand what Craig was like in his era, compared to what everybody else was running at that time, compared to what Robinson is running right now. So I I think we are slowly getting to the point where it's like these historical records, and not really slowly at this point. It's happened quite rapidly,
Right. For 2-3
where
years.
yeah, where the historical records just, while they're great, they just don't hold the same weight. It's more like, as you're pointing out, it's more of a performance list at this point. It's like, are you NCAA number one this year? Like that's kind of where we're at with a lot of these records, where you just have to run an NCAA record to be the fastest guy in the country this year. Um, and I think I remember when we did like the during COVID, we did those polls
Yeah.
about like was the
April
field
Anarchy.
before, yeah, for, and we are voting on who was the better runner, and I think that gets more and more interesting to do as we go on, because you can't just look at the times anymore and be like, all right, like this guy ran 10 seconds faster, he's the better runner. That just, you can't do that anymore. And so these arguments become a lot more fun because they can become a lot more subjective than objective. And I think that's where what we do on this site and on this podcast becomes
Yes, we
all
do.
that more important, because everyone's running fast. But to be able to discern who's better, who's going to be the favorite, like all these different things comes into a lot of analysis rather than just pulling up someone's T-first page.
That was really well put. I really like how you said that. And just to be very clear, this has been the best thing for TSR ever. Like, the traffic we get, like, is great. Like, I'm thrilled. We get new subscriptions. It's awesome. Like, I'm not taking that away. Like, I want the collegiates to go out and do it. I really, really do. But I also want the, like you said, the guys from the older eras who really, again, like the 738 was once considered like, oh my goodness, that's like unbelievably next level. And I worry that that's going to get lost where we're in an era of, yeah, but just reset the list, reset the list, reset the list. So, um, and I'm not taking away anything from these guys. I think they all did it legitimately, and it was all their own doing. And like I said, a lot of them went under it comfortably. But you can just, like you mentioned, I think it's fair to kind of split it into eras. And I'll let my rant end there.
So just quick, where do you have Robinson in terms of like your tiers for the 3K, 5K at this point now? Like, is he with Nico Young in a tier? Is he a tier below? Where is he next to Graham Blanks in the 5K? Like, where do you have him now?
I think I think he's in the top tier, but the problem is I think the top tier is just insanely crowded.
Yeah,
I mean, you look, you tell me who doesn't belong in the top tier, okay? How about this? You'll say yes whenever I list a name, and that's a person in the top tier, okay?
sure.
All right, Kai Robinson,
Yes.
Aaron Les Harris,
No.
Parker Wolf,
No.
Nico Young,
Yes.
Brian Massow.
See, this is the hard one for me.
Yeah,
I
Masow's tough.
I I would lean no, but he's the one that I probably would want to say yes more than anybody.
Shoppy,
No.
Acai, if he's
Yeah.
fresh,
If he's running the 3K fresh, then yes.
and Theo Quacks.
No.
So
I
here's
would
your trick.
consider the only other people that I consider in that would be Hauser and Grant Blanks.
And a healthy Drew Bosley,
And yeah, right. Yeah, of
which we
course.
don't even know what his status is. But
Yeah.
um,
So
okay,
I
I
actually
would.
don't think it's that big. Like I honestly right now it's like Robinson and Nico Young. Like I think they're kind of in their own tier at this point.
I want to put Wolf in there just because his resume is it's so good this
It's
season.
awesome. I I need to see it.
I know. I know.
So
I
yeah,
know.
no, I think it I guess what I'm trying to say is I think I think Robinson with this performance kind of cements his spot as like top 2, top 3 contender for like 3K, 5K at this point.
What are the chances he scratches the 5K and goes all in for the 3K?
I don't think he'll do that. He's proven that he can double well.
Yeah, absolutely, he has. But you also interviewed him, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
clip
he was
is
literally
he's like, I don't want to do this.
he didn't think he doubled well.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna move us off of that. Anas SE runs 351 in the mile. Cool. Isaac Baston 353 lane 9 contributor. Cool.
Both punched their tickets to NCAA's basically.
Yep, I got nothing there. Michaela Rose 159. Is there a chance she breaks the record at nationals? It's Athing
It,
Moo. It's 140, 158. Let me check. 158.4. She just ran 159.4.
I think there's a good I think there's a very good chance that you have to run sub 159 to win the title this year.
But does she break the record?
I would say no. That's awfully fast, but I think they're gonna get very very close.
Okay. And I think that's really the only thing that you can say about Rose.
Yeah, I mean
She
her consistency is rather stunning. Like
so
just
good.
I mean you talk about like they talk about this in like professional sports all the time about like just athletes showing up and giving the fans what they want like when they pay for their tickets. If you show up for a Michaela Rose like race, you're getting your money's worth every
Yep.
single time.
Yep. Great way to put it. Ben, here's a fun fact. If the women's if the season ended today and there was one scratch in the women's 5K, half of the women's 5K field at the national meet would be BYU and NAU runners.
I mean, we were kind of headed that way after what BYU did last week.
BYU has spots 7, 8, 9. NAU currently, after this past weekend, has 11, 13, 14, 16, 17. They would just need one scratch.
Goodness.
I don't really know where they're going to get it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think we're getting that scratch.
I don't know if we're going to get the scratch, but I mean, the only one I could see is Roe, where Roe scratches, does DMR, and then does the 3K.
Yeah, man, Roe. Like, I think should we segue into what Roe did this weekend?
Yeah.
Whew, 15-12, and a little overshadowed by Doris Lemongole's 15:04. Two fantastic 5K performances. For me, I'm just so excited to see Roe at this level again. Like she was probably one of the most exciting young runners who was just like learning how to run like these longer than mile track races basically, and won the 3K title a couple years ago. And I wouldn't say she hasn't been bad since. It just she hasn't been quite as explosive or as like near the front as she was during that season, I would say. And for her to like have the year that she's having so far is incredible, and it just brings back a lot of memories of of me betting on her that year she won that 3K title, and I getting dangerously close to like saying she's going to beat a lot of people that she probably doesn't have a lot of business beating, honestly.
Uh, and she is probably up there with Markovic in terms of being one of the most complete runners in the NCAA right now. I mean,
Yes.
she's just awesome. And you're right. I mean, like she had hit those kind of like hiccups, that roller coaster of the past year or so, where it was like, yeah, she was good, but she didn't always have like the whatever the edge we were looking for. In 15-12, I think solves a lot of those issues, which is great. So I I can't believe I'm saying this. 15-12, I think puts her at NCAA number 4, number 5. I think I'm gonna say 5. Especially for Lemongold's performance. I can check right now if you
Number
give me.
3.
Well, no, that's Lemongol.
Or
I'm sorry, Lemongol is 2,
yeah.
Roe is 4. Um, I can't believe I'm saying this. She's the 4th fastest 5K runner of all time, only
Oh,
3rd on
jeez.
this year's national leaderboard,
Yeah.
and I still think she should scratch.
Yeah, I mean, she very well might. She's very, very good in the 3K, and can help the team in the DMR. So, I, there's, I think, logic on both sides. As for Lemon Goal, incredible performance. You pretty much nailed this prediction.
I did.
I very proud of you for
Thank
going
you.
out on that limb of saying 15:03 because that is like extraordinarily fast. And she basically did it. And I mean, she has come into the NCAA and been every bit as good as we could have hoped she would be. I just can't wait to see her in like a national championship setting. I think that's literally the only question we have, and like the thing that I'm one of the people I'm most excited to see in that setting this year.
Well, like the way I put it was Parker Volby is probably going to be in that race, assuming she's healthy and fine and she's
Yep.
at the national meet. But if she's in that race, she will go to the lead and she will push the pace. And you know who's going to be happy about that? Hilda Olamonwe and Doris Lemngole.
Yeah.
They'll be thrilled. And I don't know if you look down the list, who else is like really going to be thrilled about that? I don't think it's many people.
No. No, because
It's,
not many people can run under 15:10. Like,
no. So I think really like Volby, as long if Volby is like sharp as sharp can be, she'll win the title. But
she's going to
there
have to be
isn't like,
very good. She's going to be on
yeah,
top of her game.
she doesn't have like a whole lot of leeway. I don't think.
Yeah.
I still think she's the favorite. Well, I think everyone will pick her. That's not the problem. But um, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Let's transition to the women's 3K. We saw Hilda Omame, Chloe Scrimger run 850, Melissa Riggins 852. Not a whole lot here other than great performances. I think this again backs up what we've seen from all these respective women, and gives them 3K tickets to nationals, and sets them up to run it if they want to.
Yeah. Riggins. Let's say Georgetown qualifies a DMR.
Mm.
What does she run?
She's got to run the mile. Like she's just too good. Like I don't think they're gonna take that. I think she'll do mile 3K. I just don't think they'll take away that opportunity.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Maybe Ramsden's 424 changes that calculus a little bit, but I
If it's
don't think so.
tactical
Yeah,
enough.
right.
Elsewhere, Husky Classic, Lexi Halliday Lowry, 851. Riley Chamberlain, 851. Another BYU runner, Sadie Sargent, 854. Another BYU runner, Jenna Hutchins, 855.
Jeez.
Diljeet Taylor is having an incredible season. I mean, she is killing, and we haven't talked about, I don't know if we will talk about Megan Hunter running 201. Riley Chamberlain, by the way, has run 203, 430, and 851 this season.
Jeez.
BYU is having a season that is so good, and they're just going to overwhelm you with depth. But also in reality, you really kind of look at these times and like what they've done in the past, and I'm not like shocked.
This is what they do. They just put a ton of women in that like 10 to 25 range on the performance list
Yeah.
on like every event. It's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't like really. I wanted to talk a lot. Like, there's a lot of really good 3K performances here. I don't really know what there is to talk about.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll transition us to
Oh, real quick,
yeah.
actually, if
Go
I
ahead.
may. Amy Bunnage sits at NCAA number 17 in the 3K
Hmm.
at 854. I guess there's not a chance anyone scratches, right?
No, yeah, she's not getting in.
Okay.
Yeah. What did we say? We said 853, and we both said over on that.
Which I feel pretty good about
That's
still.
I think we're gonna be right. But yeah, that's we
It
would
would be
need
close though. It would be real
three
close,
three
actually.
women to run under 853, which
Yeah.
could happen, I guess. All right. In the men's 800, we saw Hendo Roban run one. He ran 147 and then ran 146. Is that the right order of things?
Yes, he ran 147 at New Balance for the win, and then was the top collegiate at Boston U in 146.
I mean, for a guy who shows up in the postseason and is clearly can peaks at the right time, this is kind of a scary sight, honestly. Like, if he's
Yeah.
running this in back to back days, basically simulating NCAA's and the rounds that he's gonna have to run through, he's gonna be a handful to deal with.
I mean, I don't know. I think I could just kind of look at this and I go, all right. I mean, it's Yusuf one, Roban two,
Yeah,
and not on the national leaderboard per se, but
but yeah,
just in terms of like the hierarchy that we have. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I think this is kind of like at the beginning of the season, kind of what we thought, and I think it's
yep,
accurately reflected. Um, and here's a hot take. Kind of happy Tenoda didn't have a great race. Tenoda Matsada.
yeah.
Um,
Get one
I
under his
think
belt before nationals.
exactly. Have a kind of like a welcome to the NCAA moment. Biggest field, toughest field he's faced. Struggled a little bit, but that's okay. Get that out of the way now. Understand what that kind of field could look like on the national stage, what it could feel like, and be adjusted for it. So I'm not totally upset about how he ran it. Obviously, it wasn't great, um, but I think it was a really good learning experience, and I'm not too upset about that.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair, and I I agree. I think it's almost better just to have him face a little adversity after just not really having any throughout this collegiate season, and be a little bit more prepared to bounce back from an off day. I think the last thing I had on my list here, Peter Maru of Arkansas, new Razorback,
Yeah.
13-17 in
I
the 5K.
another guy killed it. Dude, can I just have a moment here? I had a really good week. I think a lot of us actually at TSR had a real. Mara and Finn also had good weeks. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, no, I think that's it. Like, it seems like Arkansas has found another guy who is going to step up and be one of the best in the country. I have no idea how he's going to perform at the national meet, but the fact that he's going to be in the national meet is a pretty big story, quite frankly.
Yeah, so he has a 13:07 PR from his time at Uganda. He actually like just got there, just got to Arkansas like a few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago. He's brand new. And he seems to be like a classic Arkansas guy,
Yeah.
like a Karamiego, Patrick Kiprop, run from the front. We like aggressive paces, and we're gonna just do well enough. And that's kind of what happened. He was a focal point of that 5K race, and I think a 13:17 is on brand. I think if the 5K is fast as the national meet, he will be an All American. And I think if he wants to contest the 10K, that's probably a better option for him during the spring.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Another guy to keep an eye on in a just an ever changing NCAA landscape. It is absolutely wild. That's all that I had on my list. Is there anything we missed?
I wanted to do a quick exercise with you. I think it'll actually be pretty fun, and we won't be taking too long. I'm gonna just list off a few other performances that we did not touch on, and I want you to give me one sentence of analysis.
Sure. All right.
Or do you want to do one word or one sentence?
Now let's do one sentence because one word will get probably too repetitive.
All right, one sentence of analysis, um, and we'll start
Sure.
with Abdul Hahi Hassan running 146 to win over Sean Dolan.
A good sign that he's rounding into form before nationals.
Rivaldo Marshall runs 146 to beat Finley McClear from Iowa.
Interesting result, and one that I think could lead to a better result at NCAAs than we expect.
Finley McClear 146.97 in that same race.
Good, but I was hoping for more.
We didn't actually touch on this one. Adam Spencer ran 352 at the Milrose Games.
That one is really interesting because he's been kind of like just out there. Like we
Yeah.
we we know after what he did this past summer, you're like this guy has the potential of being the best guy in the NCAA when it comes to middle distances, and we just haven't seen him for a while. So for him to run 352, I think he can honestly run faster. I think obviously a good performance, but if he's at the top of his game, I really don't know who he's losing to.
So here's a like where do you think on the all-time list he's at?
Oh, 7?
Yes, 7.
Wow, look at
That
that.
was pretty good. Wow, that was pretty good. Yeah, he's 7, and I'm about the first thoughts article I'm about to post later tonight. It's gonna be pretty late, but um, Baston, SIE, and the Washington men. I think that's the clear-cut group that we have for the title contention right now.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you throw Spencer in there?
Yes.
I think you're right. Okay, now we're going back to the one sentence. Now that we figured out the Spencer stuff. All right, back to that. Leah Murphy, 353 at Milrose Games.
Right on brand.
Haptum Samuel running 740 for the win at Boston U.
Not surprising.
Alex Mayer running 743 for the win at the Eagle Elite Invite.
Good. A good sign and another potential option for a very, very good Oklahoma State team.
Okay, I'm gonna like lump these together as one. Evans Kiplagat, 1526, and then Saeed Mikel, Patrick Kiprop, and Alex Phillip all running 1327. That group sits at number NCAA number 15, 16, 17, 18 on the 5K national leaderboard. What's the one sentence analysis you have on that?
One sentence. Oh man. Kiplagat and Michaela just keep exceeding expectations while and Philip, quite frankly, this is pretty much par for the course for Kiprop.
That was very well done. All right, women's side, and then we'll wrap up here. Haley Kitching wins 201 again at Boston U.
She's on a roll, and outside of that top quartet, she might be the most dangerous 800-meter runner in the country right now.
Sanu Jallo of Arkansas, the sophomore, goes from 202 after running a big PR now to 201 at the Tyson Invite.
Really good performance. Want to keep seeing that consistency.
And then Gladys Chepnagedich of Clemson runs 201 after running 202.
I ditto. I think again, just keep the consistency is the biggest thing at this point.
All right, just for the rest of this event, I need one word just for the 202s here.
Okay.
Megan Hunter, 202 BYU.
Claire Seymour.
Oh, I like that. Even though that's 2 words, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, one name. Yeah, sure, whatever. Maggie Congdon, 202.
Solid.
Gavadite, 202 at Milrose.
Unsurprising.
Ainsley Erzin of Arkansas at Tyson Invite.
She's not the former 400-meter runner, is she?
No.
Okay.
She's a sophomore.
Promising.
Lindsay Butler, 202. Wilma Nilsson, 202.
Par. Normal.
Sure. And then Bailey Goggins, 202.98.
I'm running out of adjectives.
You.
Nice.
Cool. One sitting analysis on um, Claudia Kazmierska running 4:30.
Puts her in a very good position to be an All-American.
Solana Yildiz is running 4:30. And 8:56 3K deadlift.
Yeah, she had a very good weekend. I think this shows that she's kind of acclimated to Oregon training and with that rest of the group, I think is going to be a lot more potent at nationals.
I think we actually kind of touched on almost all of the 3Ks, I want to
Yeah.
say. Yeah, we pretty much did. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. And then, yeah, we kind of skimmed over the DMR. Oklahoma State runs NCAA number 2 all time, 10:47.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's not surprising. Like
It's
they're
not
just
surprising.
the DMRs are going to keep getting faster and faster, and like you look at this lineup, it makes complete sense that they would run 10:47.
Yeah, that's it. You did it. Nice job.
Whew. Yeah, that was a good one. That makes me I feel like stretch both sides of the brain right there.
Good. I'm glad. All right. Well, we have got a whole lot more coming up. We've got DMR weekend. If you're listening to
Yes,
this, it's
very
Wednesday.
exciting.
That's going to be, DMR weekend's coming up. And as we all know, that's a great weekend here. Except now I think we have like 3 meets that we have to
Oh,
cover.
jeez.
I know. Because Boston decides that
The fun of
they're
DMR weekend is you get to see them go head to head. Like I don't want to see them split up
Yeah, I
so
mean,
many different
I
places.
actually do think we're going to see 3 really great races. I
Yeah,
do, and so that'll be interesting. Then of course, then we start conference weekend, then championships, and we can do all the previews, and it's pretty exciting stuff. And I'll be excited for it. I know Ben will maybe be available. We'll see. There are things happening, and then yeah, we're gonna have Andrew LeMay back on site for national championships at D1. That's confirmed.
exciting stuff.
Yes, we're also going to have a videographer there as well to get some video interviews, and we're also going to be trying to send D2 and D3 people out this winter as well. So buckle up, guys! It's going to be really cool. So Ben, did I miss anything?
No, we covered a lot more ground than I thought we would today.
Yes,
So
yes, we did.
really good, and yeah, and did it in a pretty timely manner. So I think this was a really solid episode.
Awesome. Well, that's all I got.
All right, well until next week, I'll talk to you.
I'll talk to you.